Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to the road to 1600. I inched ever so close to the goal with an awesome game as black today. This is probably one of the better games that I've played as terms of accuracy and overall score, and I was just hoping my opponent didn't see what I saw right there at the end. But if this is the first time you're finding the channel, feel free to subscribe as we continue to grow, and with that, let's go check it out. Okay, here we go. I changed my theme a little bit to the green background. It just looks a little bit less cluttered. Kind of able to see everything, hopefully a little bit better. Well, let's jump in. Relatively short game in comparison to the last couple. And playing as black here. So I want to start choosing certain methods. So against King Pawn, I think I'm going to start using the Carl Khan. It's got a little bit of some strategy to it, and I've been using the London system as white, and so I've been making sure I don't want to trap my light squared bishop if we do end up playing long-term Carl Khan here. So pretty standard book opening. Nothing too crazy off the rip here. Not bringing out the knight was an interesting choice, so I figured, okay, well, let me play a little bit more passive as well. I'll push up the e-pawn into the center, maybe take control of that center a little bit, but I'm not too worried about being overly aggressive right now. And so by playing on the board a little bit, trying to figure out if I take, he takes, I take, he takes, one of those games there, I want to put some more pressure on that e5 space, just because I need a little bit more than just a pawn protecting that if I am going to eventually push up to that e5 space when that bishop is watching it. So move the knight over, try to get some attack on that e5 space, and I realize I wasn't showing all of the intro moves. The moves is a little bit longer than my screen is here, so I might have to adjust that. But I'm glad I did for this game. So now that I got the support, I'll push up to e5, take, and that'll kick that bishop back a little bit. So want to pin the knight up, and I don't want my bishop to get trapped, so I actually left my bishop here for quite a while. I was just waiting to get pressured. Maybe I should have taken a little bit sooner, but yeah, I didn't see a need to move my bishop off of that space, so I just kind of left him hanging out there. So wanted to put some pressure on there, develop normally. I was okay with losing my C pawn because I could take back with B, and that would open up my bishop. Right now my bishop, my light squared bishop, really hasn't done much or been involved in this game at all. So I was okay with losing the B pawn in order to open that up. And eventually that diagonal is going to come in clutch. So he put some pressure on with his knight, and so if he's playing a little bit of defense, if he's playing a little bit more passive, I'm going to take that opportunity to kind of do the same and get castled. So I was doing a little bit of math of, I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of lost in this middle game, and I was like, all right, do I move that bishop out? Do I move my knight out? I don't know. I was playing around with the drawn on the board, just trying to figure out what would be a good move. I didn't want to leave anything hanging, and I realized my bishop is hanging, but at the same time, I'm also kind of waiting to be pressured for that bishop. So I eventually get that pressure. I slide over to take, and I see that he's got his light squared bishop not involved, and he's got his queen not involved. So I'm trying to figure out which side he's going to castle to. Probably the king's side if he can just move his knight, which he does right here. So now his light squared bishop can enter the game, and so I recognized that my queen had been pinned this whole game by his queen and my knight sitting in front. So I wanted to take this opportunity. Okay, let's get my queen out of here. Let's put some support on that e-pawn, and maybe I can start pushing up that e-pawn with the support of both my knights and my queen. And I do have my rook on the F file, and so if I do end up moving my knight, I was feeling pretty good that I'd have that open file. So I really wasn't mad about that position or losing that F pawn right now. So I get pushed into check. I didn't see a good option for blocking. Yeah, maybe I could have moved my knight over onto that space, but then he would have been attacked by his bishop, his knight, and his queen. and I was only be protected by a pawn, so I thought that probably wasn't a good idea. I didn't really see any other good options other than like my queen or the rook, so I was like, let's just slide over into the corner. You can, from what I've learned, you can get back ranked pretty quick by having no escape route and hiding in the corner, but I didn't see better options at this point in time. So just let it play. We'll see what happens. So now he castles, and I'm thinking, let's just move this bishop and see what happens. Again, I didn't really have a plan at this point in time. I was looking to get my bishop involved in the game a little bit, and at first I needed to move that pawn. So that pawn was kind of hiding out this whole time. So now he's got some pressure with his rook coming down the E. And so I'm thinking to myself, all right, let's push the E pawn up. If he gets taken, I can move my queen up inside or move my knight up inside. And then it hits me. If I can get my bishop over to b7, and then I can get my queen over to c6, and I can somehow get his pawn to move off of f3, that's mate. I just run right in front of him. Go give his king a hug with my queen, and maybe I have to sacrifice my pawn, my bishop, and then I move my knight, and then I move my knight out of the way, or maybe I sacrifice my rook to get up there and move his pawn. But if I could just get his pawn to move, I'm pretty good. And then he moves his pawn for me. I was like, oh no, he's staring at me with his rook and his pawn. He's like, oh yeah, I got him. I'm going to just run down the e-file, put some pressure on his queen. I'm going to force his knight to move. And so I just slide my queen over, and I'm like, oh, I hope he doesn't see this. I hope he's so focused on pushing that pawn onto the e-file that he doesn't even see that he's about to get mated. And I've been in that situation before where a couple games ago, I thought the guy quit. I didn't even see that I was about to be mated. I had no idea. And then the rook slid down the e-file and I was mated. And it took me completely by surprise. So I was hoping that what was happening here. And he takes. He was so focused on running down the e-file, moving my knight. Honestly, I don't know what the plan was. He was gonna go promote it. I don't know. But next move, I was like, oh my god, it's about to happen. And so I drew the line, and I was like, okay, his rook can't take me. Okay, his queen can't take me. He can't get his knight in there. Bishop, no. Other rook, no. Pawn, no. Move the king, no. I was like going through all the checklists, looking at every piece on the board, trying to just figure out how I could possibly ruin this. I didn't come up with anything, so I dragged it up real slow. I was like, oh god, I just got to go for it. I don't think there's any reason that he could take me. And that was it. So I played pretty good here. I was pretty proud of this one. I clicked on a little game review afterwards, and I think I had a 76% accuracy, which honestly is pretty good for me. I'm usually in the mid 60s, low 50s, which I get it is bad. But we're learning, and so this one was upper 70s, had a rating of 1250, which is probably better than I've ever done. And in terms of the journey to 1600, this puts us at 814, which ties my highest rating that I've been at. So this was a great game. This was a fun game. Only 18 moves, but an overall really, really fun game. I walked away from this one with a real good appreciation for the game. I'm really having fun playing the game. And we continue on to 1600. We are over halfway there. It's only going to get harder. I'm going to have to play better for sure. But I had a great time playing this game. And if you've made it this far, I appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't. And I will catch you guys in the next one.